Hey, what's up? This is Sully from Godsmack. Strap on those boots, baby, because you are now in the trenches of the war room with the one and only Mistress Carrie right here on the Mistress Carrie podcast.
What's up? This is Joe Rogan, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Her hair so lovely, pretty eyes.
Hey, this is Brent from Shinedown, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie. Hey, Carrie, go put your bra on, girl.
Hey, this is Steven Tyler, and you be listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
What's up? This is Aaron from Stain, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Hi, everybody. This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, and you're listening to the one, the only Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is David from the band Disturbed, and you're listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
Hi, Bruce Dickinson here from Iron Maiden. Yes, indeed, Miss Whiplash herself, Mistress Carrie, is here to unchain your brain.
Hi, this is Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You're listening to Mistress Carrie.
This is Dennis Leary. You are listening to my favorite, Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is Corey from Stone Sour, and you have the privilege of listening to Mistress Carrie.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
Hey, it's Mistress Carrie, reporting for duty from MCHQ for episode 299 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. My guest this week, Damon Johnson from Brother Kane, goes on a trip in the Wayback Machine with me, talking about the early days of the band, his career, playing guitar for Lynyrd Skynyrd, and bringing Brother Kane back with their first new album in 28 years, Magnolia Medicine, coming up on April 28th, 2026. Damon Johnson and I go back to the early days of both of our careers. And through the years, our paths have crossed with common friends, and that's why I could not wait to get him on the Mistress Carrie podcast. So allow me to introduce you to Damon Johnson from Brother Kane. Oh my God, Damon Johnson's on the show. You have no idea how excited I am to talk to you.
Oh, wow. I'm what an awesome way to start this day, this interview, Carrie. Thank you so much. I'm stoked to talk to you. You look fantastic, and congrats on all of your ongoing rock and roll activity. We're all certainly grateful for you.
I don't know if you remember exactly how far back we go, which is why I was so excited to talk to you, because you guys are getting ready to release your first album in like 28 years.
Correct.
When Brother Kane came out, I had just started working in radio, like fresh out of college. And Brother Kane was the house band of WAAF in Boston. You guys were here all the time.
Now it's coming back to me, Carrie. As soon as when I saw your name, I'm like, wait a minute. I think Carrie's in the Northeast. And yeah, wow. I didn't realize that was like the start of your kind of radio life. But without a doubt, the support that Brother Kane got from WAAF in 1993 was a game changer for us. As you remember, we were a brand new band. We were just a straight ahead rock and roll band. We weren't grunge. We weren't alternative. We weren't, I don't know. We were kind of a mutt at that time. And because of the support we got from you guys, we were able to put out three singles. You know, we got the Robert Plant tour. We got the Aerosmith tour, early 94. Wow.
That's how far back it goes. So in 1993, I was still in college, and I was interning at WAAF. I was going to school for radio. And you guys were the headliners of an annual party we used to have called the Indoor Beach Party.
Yes.
And we used to truck in all of this sand and give away all these tickets. And in the middle of the winter, we had this indoor beach party. And there were girls in bikinis. And the bands loved it, but they hated it because what always ended up happening was that everybody, A, got drunk. And then B, everybody started throwing sand around. So you guys got sand in all your gear.
Yeah. It's all coming back to me now. All true. You're exactly right. Except we didn't hate it. We loved it because, you know, again, we were just so new to all of that. It was just our first record. None of us had ever done anything, like that. So, and plus I don't know that you would remember this, Carrie, but our producer of that first record was a guy named Jim Mitchell. Jim had engineered the Guns N' Roses Use Your Illusion records with Mike Klink. Jim was from Boston. His whole family was there. All of his buddies from high school, they all came to your event. I think Jim flew in from California just to participate in that. So, yeah, good times.
Back in the day, they used the interns as like the crew to help load the band gear in and like used us for whatever because we were just trying to get college credit and trying to learn the business. And I remember it distinctly because AAF used to have these embroidered like flags, banners that we would hang up, and they were really expensive. And we were told under no uncertain terms are you allowed to let anybody steal those things because they were really expensive and we used to get in trouble when like drunk people would steal them. And I'm talking about this show because they told me during Brother Kane, go out and make sure nobody steals that banner. And so I'm standing there watching the show trying to protect this banner, and this giant drunk guy climbed up like the tower where the speakers were to steal it. And when he climbed back down with it, I was like, you can't take that. And I'm like wrapping my arm around it. And he punched me square in the face. In the middle.
What?
Yes. That's why I can't forget this show, because this giant drunk guy punched me in the face. I didn't let go of the banner. I go out back. All the bosses are shit-faced from the radio station. And they're so worried because I was the only girl that I was going to sue the radio station because I got punched at a concert and all I wanted was a job. I was like, guys, I just want a job. I'll take a punch, but can I just get a job? And then, yeah,
Carrie, that's terrible.
Oh, it was awful.
That's terrible. And let me guess, you didn't press charges against that guy.
Not only did I not press charges, but it totally, because I went from being an intern when I was in school, and then when I got out of school, I got hired like on the street team, right? Like driving the van, handing out bumper stickers, like those minimum wage radio jobs that's like your foot in the door.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody heard that I took that punch. And all of a sudden, everybody was like, whoa, like, she's a tough bitch. And
she is not fucking around.
She is not to be trifled with.
Not to be trifled with.
And after 7.5 years, that's why, like, our careers have been this thing, because after that internship, when I graduated from school, I got hired on the street team. And then after being at the station for like 4 years on the street team, I finally got hired as a DJ the year you guys released your last record in 98.
Yes.
And so Brother Kane is the soundtrack to like the first 8 years of my radio career. And I was at AAF all the way up until the last minute when the station got sold in 2020 and we went off the air. So that was my only radio gig for 29 years. And when people talk to me about the craziness of like rock radio in the 90s and like, what's the craziest thing that happened and how crazy was it? I always bring up that indoor beach party with Brother Kane because I'm like, I took a punch protecting a radio station banner back when I was an intern.
Carrie, let me say this to you. First of all, I am honored. We are honored, and we are very sorry. That's terrible that happened to you. And I wish that we had have known that happened, because we would have.
Oh, you would have beat the hell out of that guy.
We would have taught that guy a lesson. I mean, that's just the kind of stuff that we always were outspoken about. I mean, really. As we're on this subject, I think that was one of the shocking things for us about, being on a major label, doing it for real, songs on the radio, playing 4 stations with other bands, all this activity. Man, there was still a fair amount of misogyny and just disrespect for women out there. And we were, I don't know, that just wasn't how we rolled. It's, it was one of the darker things about, we had so much incredible success and experiences in that time period. There was a dark layer to it as well, and that was part of it. And thankfully, that was about as worse as I've ever heard of it getting. I hated that happened to you, but
the guy was wasted, and like back then, I just wanted to be successful in the business. I didn't want to be the troublemaker that like called the cops, because that's how you thought back then. But when I talk to people now about how the business is different, like if that happened now, I'd own that guy's house.
Yeah, you'd own his house, and he would have never left the facility without a broken jaw, probably a broken arm, and everybody could have said self-defense because he would have started it. And well, wow.
So that is how far back we go. So you can only imagine. And I've heard your name come up from time to time because we share a common friend in Joe Calgaro.
Oh, yeah. Joe. Wow.
So Joe was my last program director at WAF when it got sold in 2020. And Joe and I are still really tight. So over the years, he's kind of said, I talked to Damon, and obviously keeping track of your career with all of the other things that you've done. Yeah. But there's so much focus on 90s music right now, and what a prolific decade in music it was. And when people talk to me about bands that were big or that I loved or bands that I wish were still together, and I'm not saying this because you came on the show, Brother Kane always comes out of my mouth. I was such a huge fan of the band. So, you have no idea how excited I was to get the press release that you guys were getting back together. And when you said yes to coming on the show, I was so freaking excited. Because I feel like everything is coming full circle now. Like our careers started together, and now the band is back together. And I'm on all these different radio stations and the podcast. It's like we grew up together. That's how I feel.
Girl, listen, let me say a couple of things. This is super exciting. I didn't get my head around this when I saw your name on my to-do list for today. I was like, oh yeah, Mistress Carrie. We've talked before. Putting Brother Kane back together was not something I had any plan to do. It was not on like, hey man, sometime down the road, maybe. I had absolutely moved on for two reasons. I have been able to do some other things since the band broke up in 2000. Incredible to get to. I wrote a song for Stevie Nicks. I wrote a song for Carlos Santana that Steven Tyler sang. Played in Alice Cooper's band. I played in Thin Lizzy. Did another band called Black Star Riders. It was an offshoot from Thin Lizzy. So much fulfillment creatively being one of the main writers in that band. The Lynyrd Skynyrd phone call in 2021, still no Brother Kane. Now, the Skynyrd call kind of facilitated the conversation between my old bandmate, Glenn Maxey. He was the original bass player. We showcased for the labels together when we were called Child. I wasn't even the singer then. I was just the lead guitar player. And my manager, I have a manager, Kevin Lee. Carrie, I can't say enough about Kevin because, I didn't need a manager for any of the stuff I had been doing, the past 20-something years, because I was just a kind of a sideman, a journeyman, touring guitar player, getting this incredible opportunity to play with these legends and supporting my family. It's all great, all wonderful. I had a tiny bit of reservation, maybe some doubt, like, I don't know, guys, it's 2022 at that point, but who's gonna care about Brother Kane? It's been so long. I knew without a doubt that all of our supporters at radio either had retired or moved into other businesses, and there was no path for us to even pursue radio. All that has changed. You know better than anybody, Carrie, how much radio.
The business is
changed.
so different
It's so
now.
different.
Yeah.
It's so different. And look, I'm not one of those guys that complains about it. It just is what it is. It's how life is for all kinds of businesses. And your responsibility is to pivot. You were going this way, some things changed, and you have to be light on your feet and pivot and figure what else you're going to do. Thankfully, some things kind of came my way that when I did pivot out of Brother Kane in 2000, I was able to keep playing my guitar and, doing music for a living. So what I did not anticipate, Carrie, was the quality of these 11 new songs on this Magnolia Medicine album that's going to drop in full April 17th. I still can't believe it. I've had these songs now for almost a year. My old collaborator, partner, Marty Fredrickson, he and I wrote Got No Shame, Full Shine On, I Lie in the Bed I Made, Machete, Voice of Eugenia, Hard Act to Follow, all those.
He comes up on the show all the time because he's one of the four horsemen.
Yeah, he's just right. That's exactly right. I knew that if we were going to make a record, Marty had to be involved because Marty was essential to our success in the 90s. He was certainly as vital as any band member or manager or record label promo guy. Marty was essential. So in the interest of brevity, Carrie, I'll wrap this part of the conversation up like this. We had so much fun. I had so much to say. I showed up at Marty's house loaded with a laptop full of lyrics, poetry, stories, riffs, half-completed songs, fully completed songs. It wasn't like that in the 90s, Carrie, because like I said earlier, I was just a guitar player. A year and a half before Got No Shame got released to radio, I was writing my first lyrics of my whole life because I knew if I'm going to be the singer, I have to write lyrics that I can sing authentically, that mean something to me. I was in perpetual fear of being a fake, of being a poser. Like I knew enough about music to know that you have to be real. You have to be real. And so that was such a learning process to me. And you can imagine how my mind was blown that, a year and a half after I agreed to be the singer, Got No Shame's the #1 song at rock radio. We're on tour with Lynyrd Skynyrd and Bad Company. And we got a call from Robert Plant's manager, see if we'd go out and do it. It's like, girl, I didn't have the tools to process all of that. It was all mind blowing. However, we did a good job. At least I knew about hard work. We had an incredible band. We had an incredible radio promo staff. You talked to some of those Virgin Records people back then in the day. They crushed it. They killed for us. They played a big role, Carrie, just like AAF in Boston did. You guys are the ones that have given me this life that I've had since Brother Kane. Had Brother Kane not had success, there's no phone call from Alice Cooper. There's no phone call from Scott Gorham and Thin Lizzy. I would have never met Johnny Van Zant and Gary Rosington and Ricky Medlock if not for Brother Kane. So, yeah, here we are, 2026. A new Brother Kane album, the first new album in 28 years.
That's insane when you say it out loud.
It's insane when I say it out loud. And what's more insane, Carrie, is pound for pound, this is as good or better than any of the 3 albums we made back then. When you hear the whole thing, you're going to go, wow, I see what Damon's talking about. This isn't a guy that was in over his head. This isn't a guy that didn't know what he was doing, that was just hustling to do the best he could and Hope everything works out okay. This is a 30 plus year career veteran journeyman songwriter, father, husband, grandfather, bandmate, band leader. Girl, I am living my best life right now. Thank you.
That is so badass. We talk all the time. I've had 2 of the 4 horsemen on the show already. And we talk all the time about the role of a producer. Because for a non-musician, a non-songwriter, especially for me, I've worked in radio for over 30 years in a studio by myself, no producer, no anything, right? So I have a very kind of selfish way of looking at work because I've always had to do it by myself.
Yeah.
And so the idea that you're going to pour this emotion and all of this stuff into these lyrics that you want to feel authentic on stage, and then you're going to go sit down with a guy and trust him to tell you that it sucks or to help you figure out how to say what you mean, that working relationship, and it comes up all the time with different artists, that role with a producer and a songwriting partner, the vulnerability and the trust that's required, I have a hard time imagining it because I've never had to do it. And I've heard people talk about their relationship with Marty and what Marty Fredrickson brings to the table, because there's so many bands that are writing music and recording in Nashville now. And I know all the guys at Sienna Studio because there's constantly, is that where you recorded this record?
Yes. Wow. Yes.
I've been in the Neil Young tunnels in the basement.
Wow.
I love that place.
Carrie, this is so incredible. So I bet you talked to Scott Stevens.
Yep, from the X's.
And wait, hold on. From the Nixons.
Yes.
Zach.
Yeah.
Zach Malloy. Of course. Yeah, so
because those were both bands that AAF played back in the day, and I had the same kind of conversation about getting in the Wayback Machine with those guys that I'm having with you, tracing how long we've known each other.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's no doubt that, and Scott knows this, Zach knows this, you know it. Marty is extraordinary. Marty is so special. He's become such an amazing producer over the last 30 years. But when he and I got in a room together the first time in late 1991, for all of my inexperience as a writer, a lyric writer, I knew enough about music that I recognized instantly, wow, not only does this guy and I have the same influences, we love the same bands, we love the same songwriters, but he was much further down the path of what it took to write a good song. So he taught me, he showed me how it's done, and then he was patient enough to stick with me. And really, we became like brothers, Carrie. He was the songwriting partner in my band that was critical. The 4 guys in Brother Kane were not really experienced songwriter. I had a great manager. My work ethic is unmatched. No one works harder than me to this day. That's the one thing I do have over anyone.
Well, I think that helps when you're talking about having to pivot.
Yeah.
That work ethic, I'm the same way. You just don't stop. You don't give up. You just move.
You just move, you keep going. And it is the thing that unifies us. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that in that moment of hard work and hustling, I got lucky. I met Marty Fredrickson. I crossed paths with Marty Fredrickson. And Brother Kane was really his first success. Got No Shame, that first record, Hard Act to Follow, those were his first songs that got played on the radio that he had a part, to do with. So, that led to a phone call from John Kalodner. That led to him writing with Nikki Sixx. That led to him writing with Steven Tyler and Joe Perry and the rest is history. You know, they all said, "Oh yeah, we love that Brother Kane song." So, you know, I'm so proud of that, and I'm so grateful for Marty. It's still insane that you and I are sitting here, February, what is it, the 18th, 2026, and we're talking about new Brother Kane music. And I got to tell you this, here's another thing that's incredible. The first song that we put out off of Magnolia Medicine, If This Means War, I didn't write it with Marty. I wrote that with another buddy of mine that I've been creative with also for not quite as long as Marty, but almost. My friend Milton Davis. I think Marty and I had written 2 songs, Carrie. I had another half dozen I'd written myself. I sent my buddy Milton a text. I said, "Hey, man, I'm going to make a Brother Kane record. This is real. This is happening. If you've got any rock sitting around, send it my way." And Carrie,
you've got rock sitting around. As a non-musician, the idea that these songs are just kind of rotting away in guys' laptops and in the recorded notes of their iPhones, as somebody that can't play instruments, sing, or write lyrics, it's so exasperating that you guys just have all this stuff just hanging out.
Yes. Well, all the guys that you've mentioned, the Four Horsemen, people like Milton, people like myself. Yeah, here's my phone right here. This is it. It is loaded. It is loaded with lyrics, melodies, chord progressions, riffs. Listen, if I could get back in a room, I could write you 12 songs myself just on what's on this phone and put another record out in 6 months. We knew it needed to be great. And so I sent Milton Davis that text, Carrie. In 10 minutes, I had a Dropbox file in my laptop. I opened it up. I hit play on it. And it was that riff that is If This Means War. He had the title. He had 2 verses of lyrics. And I called him. I said, "Bro, are you telling me I can use this? I can work with this?" He goes, "Yeah, man, I've had it for almost 10 years and it just hasn't found a home." And I said, "I'll call you back." Click. I hung up the phone and I sat there at my little cubby hole desk. I don't have some big home studio. I got a laptop and some speakers and a little, I don't even know what you call it. So I can plug in. I've got a little Pro Tools thing. I had to make it fit my voice. I had to change the key. I had to make it my own. And I sent him a demo back. And I said, "Hey, man, I wrote another verse. I put a solo in the middle. Here's a riff it needed." It took 20 minutes, Carrie. And now look at what's happening.
It's crazy.
It's the first track, side 1, song 1 on the first new Brother Kane record in 28 years. The band loves it. We did a show opening for Def Leppard back in August between my Lynyrd Skynyrd commitments. We played it live right there. We got a huge reaction from this is the Minnesota State Fair. There was 20,000 people. It's like, come on, girl. As the old folks say, it was not on my bingo card that, any of this stuff would be happening. And then here you and I are talking about this. We just put out another song last week, Nothing to Lose. That's on all the streaming sites. Got a cool little video for that. And here's the other crazy thing. I don't know if you know this, Carrie, but we've put this record out on my label Imprint. We've just outsourced
Is it
everything.
Double Dragon?
Double Dragon Records. I've been putting out solo records on Double Dragon Records, like my acoustic stuff. I did a couple of cool rock records in the last 7 years. There were a couple record deals that came our way and they just weren't that good. It's like, and then they want to own the record for 15 years. Fuck out of here, man. That's crazy. So we've outsourced everything we're doing. We got a great little promo thing going. We got a great social media girl that we're paying, and she's doing an amazing job. Because, like we said a minute ago, everything has changed.
Well, I had to do the same thing when WAF got sold. That was the only radio gig I ever had. I started my own company and started my podcast. I built my own studio and started contracting myself out to different radio stations because in 2026, that's how radio works now, and that's what you got to do.
Well, good on you, Carrie. It's a testament to your tenacity, your belief in yourself, and your love of this music.
That's the biggest thing.
It's the only reason that I work so hard is because I just love music. I love my music. I love this music. I love the guys I'm making it with. I love Marty. I got to admit, Kevin is the greatest manager. He's not a big guy, but he's my guy, and he's killing it. So, yeah, look, to state the obvious, the next thing that's got to happen is we got to get our butts back up to the Boston area and play a show somewhere, somehow.
Dude, I'm on the air all over New England. You're not coming through this part of the country without having to deal with me. It's not going to happen.
Well, let's make it happen, my friend. Look, there's other good things coming. This isn't like a half-hearted, oh, let's put the band back together and let's go play the old songs and have some beers. And yeah, we're going to have some beer and have some fun, but there's also a focus, it is an honor and a privilege for me to be a touring member of Lynyrd Skynyrd at this point in my life, at this point in that band's story. You and I could have an entirely separate podcast.
Well, I was going to bring it up because you and I have these little threads that weave us together, right? So to go back to Sienna Studios in Nashville, Jay Sims, who works at the studio.
I love Jay with my whole heart.
Okay, listen to this because this is going to blow your mind. Jay was a Boston musician for years. And I was the music director at WAF. And he came up to the studio to bring me the demo of his local band, and I kept him waiting because I got stuck in a meeting. Jay hit on the AAF receptionist, and that is his wife, Erin.
What?
That's how he met his wife, was hitting on my receptionist.
This is too much.
And he and I
real.
are friends to this day. We text all the time.
This cannot be real. I just can't believe all of this. Well, Jay is going to get a phone call from me when we hang up. This is crazy.
So here's the other thing, because you keep talking about being a member of Lynyrd Skynyrd now and playing guitar and touring with the band. So here's the other connection that you and I have that you probably are not aware of. The relationship between Shinedown and Lynyrd Skynyrd is a thing.
Oh, I'm fully aware of it. I'm aware of it for two reasons. One is common knowledge because of their incredible cover of Simple Man. I co-wrote 3 songs with this young, woolly, new singer-songwriter named Brent Smith in 2002. He didn't even have a band yet. He wasn't sure what he was going to do, but he was going to move to Jacksonville. And then since then, I've talked to Brent again, and he gave me the full story about Judy Van Zandt, helping him, believing in him, giving him a place to stay, a place to work. And this is when that guy barely had 2 nickels to rub together. So just that in itself is such a beautiful, wonderful story. And Shinedown's guitar player, Zach Myers, I met Zach when he was a little blonde-headed kid, like a Kenny Wayne Shepherd knockoff, and his trio opened for Brother Kane in Memphis at the New Daisy Theater in 1997, 98, I think, something like that.
Well,
crazy.
Here's the part of the story that's going to blow your mind. So you talk about those early days of Brent Smith when he moved to Jacksonville and Judy Van Zandt let him stay in the guest house. And he promised her that someday I'm going to find a way to pay you back.
Yeah. Yeah.
That first Simple Man performance that caused the band to have to record it and put it on the record happened on my show. I have the original performance of Simple Man. They did that on my show. Brent and I did a whole podcast episode 189 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. It's the most popular episode of the podcast I've ever done. The original version of that song was done live because bands used to come up, as you know, because you did it with Brother Kane. But when bands did it on my show, I used to try to get them to play a cover song, a song they loved. And Jason, the guitar player at the time, they started to play a Stone Temple Pilots song. And they screwed up in like the first 10 seconds. And they stopped because they were like, oh my God, we screwed that up. And I was like, come on, guys, there's got to be a song that you guys know that you could play. And Brent was scared to play Simple Man because he didn't want to disrespect the family. And the rest of the guys talked him into it. And he live on the air with no plan of it ever doing anything, busted out a better version. My version is arguably better because it's more raw and more real. And they did it in 2004, in early 2004. It was February 20th, I believe, 2004. And the request lines went crazy. We started playing it every hour.
Yeah.
We put it up on the website. The band came back 6 weeks later, came back up to the studio. And I was like, you guys have no idea how much people have been listening to this cover. And they were like, well, how much? I'm like, well, first of all, we're playing it every hour. The record company was yelling at us because it was hurting Spins on 45, which was the single they were working at the time.
Right.
And they were like, well, how many times have people listened to it on the website? And like early 2000s, streaming was not what it is today.
Of course.
And more than 526,000 times that song got streamed in 2004 off the AAF website alone. That is what made them go and re-record it and re-release the record. And Brent says that is how I repaid Judy Van Zandt.
That's insane. That's insane.
So you and I have these weird threads that have kept us together all this time. That's why I was so excited you were coming on the show.
Carrie, I didn't know any of this.
I'm going to see the guys in Shinedown next week in Vegas. They're going to be at this rock radio convention that I go to every year in Vegas, and I'm going to see
Well,
Brent
if you
next
think
week.
about it, do you know that Brent came and performed with Shinedown at the Ryman? I mean, Skynyrd. Brent came and performed with Skynyrd.
Oh, I saw
at
the
Ryman.
video because Jelly Roll was on that show too.
It was Gary Rosington's last show. Of course, no one had any way of knowing that. Brent did an incredible job, and that is one of the performances from that night that will outlive all of us. All of us. It was so special. So what a full circle moment, really, from your story to that moment of Brent standing on stage with the band at the historic Ryman Auditorium, singing Simple Man, standing next to Gary Rosington, and it was the last time he would ever be on a stage.
I know. It's crazy.
In his whole legendary life. Wow, that gives me goosebumps.
I just
Carrie.
talked to Barry Kirch a couple weeks ago because we were talking because Skynyrd's playing that Velocity Music Festival.
That's right.
On the field where they filmed Field of Dreams, which is like one of my favorite movies. And I was like, yeah, Barry, like Skynyrd is playing before you guys. And he was like, what do you mean Skynyrd's playing before us?
Yeah.
And Barry actually said, like, Shinedown is 4 guys that play in a rock band. When the guys from Skynyrd walk in the room, those guys are rock stars. And they're not even trying. They just walk in the room.
Well, Barry Brent, Zach, the bass player, Eric, all those guys, just quality humans, proper musicians. Brent is a generational talent as a rock singer. They just don't make them like that anymore. You know, sadly, we don't have Chris Cornell with us anymore.
Oh, talk about the voice of a generation.
Brent has characteristics in his power and his delivery and his melody, just his gifts. You know, guys like that, you know, there's not 5 of them, you know, in the last 30 years. It's really special. And so, you know, you take a guy like Brent with that level of talent, you add his unwavering work ethic to the equation. There's a lesson in that for you, all you kids out there. You can do anything you want. If you've got a special talent and you're not afraid of hard work, you can do anything you want. I can't believe, Carrie, because all of this that you shared about, you know, 1993, 94, and all these parallels, this is unprecedented. I'm trying to think of another relationship I've made in the music business that, you know, we have all these common things.
It's so crazy because, when I started in radio, I was so bummed because I heard all the crazy stories about the 80s, right? Like all the parties and like all that. As things have moved ahead, and you know this because of your place in this era of music, right now, people are analyzing the music of the 90s in a way, and finally, all these years later, kind of recognizing, like we grew up looking at like mid to late 60s into the mid 70s and looking at bands like Zeppelin and the launch of AC/DC and Black Sabbath and Pink Floyd and Skynyrd as this epic time in music. When we were starting out, we were under no idea that the time that our careers were starting, that we were in another moment like that. And now 30-something years later, people are looking at the music of the 90s. And I'm not just talking about the end of the hair metal era. I'm not just talking, because I think when people say 90s music, they think grunge in Seattle. I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about the new metal. I'm talking about the blues-oriented, like rock bands that I consider Brother Kane to be.
Yeah.
That entire decade of music is so ridiculous that so many of these bands, are finally getting their just desserts, right? That people are starting to actually respect it and understand it. B, the bands that broke up are starting to get back together. And we're starting to have conversations about these bands. Like Soundgarden just got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah. So
and now I get the sticker that says I may be old, but I got to see all the cool bands.
that same sticker that you used to see on, you know, like your dad's friends' cars because they were talking about the Grateful Dead and Crosby, Stills and Nash and Jimi Hendrix and the Who.
Because they were at Woodstock in '69. But now I get to say I was at Woodstock in '94 and '99. And when I say that to like my nieces and nephews, their brains explode. They're like,
oh, yeah,
what?
You probably saw the Chili Peppers or Pearl Jam or Rage Against the Machine at a Lollapalooza somewhere. Or
the Beastie Boys, like all of that. Jane's Addiction, Nirvana, all of it.
Well, you know, one thing I want to add to our conversation about all this, Carrie, is, you know, when Brother Kane broke up in 2000, it was a drag. And it was a drag because we weren't really like a success. We got a lot of airplay. We got to do some fun tours, but we weren't making any money, Carrie. We couldn't support our families. And then over that 7-year period that we had been living on the road almost incessantly, somebody's got a drinking problem now. Somebody's got a drug problem. Everybody's getting divorced. We were a mess. And then I also kind of got a little inside my own head of like, well, you know what? Maybe I should have been better. Maybe I should have been a better songwriter. Maybe I should have been a better front man. Maybe it was me, because I raised my hand and said, okay, I'll do it. I'll be the singer. So I absolutely looked at it like, well, I had a lot of fun. That was my shot. I got some great experiences. I met some incredible people. I met some of my heroes. Wow. Not many people ever get to do that. I have a lot to be thankful for. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to try to get a record deal. Of course, a year and a half later, I put together a side project with Scott Rockenfield from Queensryche, and it's like
one of my favorite bands ever.
Let's try again. Let's do this. And it's like Noel Gallagher said one time. He goes, I just kept gunning for it because that's what shit kickers do. You just I'm eat up with it. But I was so naive to think, well, Brother Kane did it. Maybe Slave to the System can do it. It ain't easy. It didn't happen. The songs were great. That part was a given. But you got to have all these other ancillary.
The lightning in a bottle, yeah.
Lightning in a bottle, good fortune, proper management, proper label support. No, there was none of that. So, thank goodness, the first phone call came from John Waite of Bad English and the Babies in his incredible solo career. I played with John for 2 years. Then the Alice Cooper call, all the other stuff we've talked about already.
I got to ask you about writing a song with Stevie Nicks, because there are women when I was a kid, right? Like, it's no surprise I ended up growing up like this, because the two women when I was a young child, my mom was, 19 when she had me. My parents were married, but back in the day, that's what you did.
Yeah.
The two women that had an impact on that child that stopped me in my tracks, Olivia Newton-John at the end of Grease, the Tell Me About It stud, not Sandy in the poodle skirt. I wanted to be the smoking Olivia Newton-John at the end of Grease. And the other woman that I looked up to as a kid was Stevie Nicks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, look, I'll tell you that story in a nutshell. I have yet to meet Stevie. I have yet to meet her. We spoke, 30 words on a quick phone call, but I wrote a song with my friend John Shanks, who is also a Marty Fredrickson level producer. He's been in Bon Jovi for 15 years now. John and I, like right around the time of that last Brother Kane record, how you write extra songs and we wrote a song together called Every Day. And I thought maybe about putting a solo record. I was so confused at the end of Brother Kane, but I kept writing some more. John gets a phone call from his, he was Melissa Etheridge's guitar player at that time. Melissa had the same manager as Stevie. The manager called and said, hey, John, Stevie is finishing her record. She's looking for one more song. Do you have some stuff? Well, John Shanks is like you and me. Carrie's one of the hardest working people I've ever met. That guy burned a CD of like 10 songs that he had been a part of writing or co-writing in recent weeks. Every Day was on that CD. He sent it to the manager. The manager gave it to Stevie. She called John, said, I want to record that song. I love that song. She liked the demo, so she brought John in to produce her version of the song. So John calls me from the studio one day And he said, hey, man, I think somebody's going to cut our song. And he had written with like some of these Disney girls, you know, the Hilary Duffs and people like that. And I thought, wow, you know, my daughters listen to that stuff. And I thought, okay, you know, whatever. I was like, so he holds the phone up to the speakers. And immediately I go, wait, I know that voice.
It
I
takes
know
literally 1 second to recognize that voice.
Well, here's the thing, Carrie. It would have never have occurred to me in 47 lifetimes that it was Stevie Nicks. So my brain would not.
It wouldn't allow it to be a possibility.
No, it's not a possibility. And then he gets back on the phone. He goes, you recognize that voice? I said, I do. Why can't I place it? He goes, you can't place Stevie Nicks?
Oh.
Carrie, I dropped the phone on my kitchen floor. You know, it was still the old school, you know, phone that hang with the long cord that's hanging by the refrigerator. And I picked it back up. I said, John, you're messing with me right now. He goes, no, bro, Stevie Nicks. He hands the phone to Stevie. I said, Stevie, I don't know what to say right now. She said, Damon, I just want to tell you, I love your song. He goes, I understand it was inspired by your new relationship with your new girl, who was about to be my wife the following year. Who we had I had 2 kids with her. So now I have 5 in total. I mean, I'm going to get choked up right now, Carrie. Like that's a life-altering phone call. You know, yeah, we made a little money and it was and all that. But what else does doubtful, battered, beaten, and bruised Damon Johnson need at that moment in my life to get that call and hear those words from that woman? Carrie, Stevie Nicks is one of the greatest songwriters of our and the previous generation.
And you talked earlier about how things are different for women from the 90s. That woman came up in a time where she had to fight tooth and nail daily.
We will never know the real story. There's probably so many things she won't tell, can't tell, shouldn't tell. Total trailblazer, pioneer, complete badass.
If you ever get a chance to meet her, will you please smuggle me in your suitcase? Please. I wanted to be her so bad when I was a kid.
You're going to love this. I just saw our Lynyrd Skynyrd merchandise guy, Steve Lewis. We did one show last week. We've got one tonight. We're not doing a lot of dates between now and July because, which is good for me because I can focus on this Brother Kane stuff. I said, Steve, I gave him a hug. It's great to see you, buddy. What have you been doing? He goes, I've been doing merch for Stevie Nicks. And I went, oh, brother.
The 6 degrees of separation to Stevie Nicks just got down to 1.
Look, I have no delusions, that there's some line of sight between the merchandise guy in the front of the arena and the icon legend lead singer. But I just said, listen, bro, I'm going to find a show. I'm coming. You just introduce me to a tour manager or a guitar tech. I don't care. I'll handle it. I'll take it from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going to try. Legend. So, wow. Well, I love that you love her. I love that you and I have reconnected.
I couldn't be more excited that Brother Kane is back. Like, I literally screamed when I saw it hit the internet that that the news had broken out. I was like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you another little surprise piece of news, Carrie, that I just got about 15 minutes before you and I got on this call together. Kevin called me And, you know, there's charts, there's little charts, radio charts. There's so many.
Yeah.
And,
They monitor airplay around the country.
they monitor airplay.
Yeah.
And in 2026, you know, I'm thrilled and grateful that we're a part of this tiny little chart, you know, on media base, classic rock, current. This week, right now, I can't even believe I'm saying this out loud. This is ridiculous. The number one track at Classic Rock Current on Media Base, Double Dragon Records, Brother Kane, If This Means War, got more spins than Shinedown, Papa Roach, The Killers, some Pink Floyd live record that just came out, Deftones. I just kind of glanced at the list. Kevin called me, sent me the email. I said, bro, I can't get my head around this. Like, just because he's kind of hyperventilating.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, listen, bro, calm down. It might be a grand total of 150 spins, you know.
Hey, whatever, man.
Whatever, man. Look, it's a good week, Carrie.
Yeah, it is a good week.
It's a good week for Brother Kane. I'm getting to talk to you. We have so many friends in common. Listen, girl, you're stuck with me now.
Dude,
This is the bad news for you on a Wednesday in February 2026. You're stuck with me, my friend, because look, this is my work life that my family and I have decided, you know, they support me continuing to follow my bliss. I'm going to do about 45 shows a year playing with Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Yeah, one of them is up here, by the way, which means I'm hitting you up. We're getting together and having a beer this summer.
All right. Write it on a rock. Write it in blood, Carrie. That is going to happen. It's going to happen. So 45 Skynyrd shows, that gives me 7 months out of the year to move Brother Kane forward. Girl, don't think I'm crazy, but I'm starting to write more songs right now. The new record's not even out in full yet, and I'm having so much fun. This record was so fulfilling creatively, artistically. I'm so proud of it. The band, I love these guys. They're my brothers. I mean, I didn't see any of this coming, so why wouldn't I just lean into it with my family's support? I'm going to lean into it. We're going to keep doing this. And one day soon, there's going to be a Brother Kane show in your backyard.
I can't wait. Are you kidding me? I cannot wait.
It's going to be super fun.
I got to ask you some
fun.
of the questions that I ask everybody that comes on the show.
All right, lay it on me.
So I have a theory about music, that there are two phases of your musical identity. There's the soundtrack to your childhood, which is the music that gets forced upon you by your parents, your cool uncle, your older brother, the neighbors. And then at some point you hear something and you make the decision at some point in your adolescence, whether it's a song, a band, an album, and you decide, I like that. And from then on in, music is different for you. So what was the soundtrack to your childhood? And then what did you hear that you made the decision for the first time, I like that?
What a wonderful question. I've never been asked this in this way, and I love this question with my whole heart. So the soundtrack to my youth from my parents was my dad. They were both into kind of like, you know, white people pop music, you know, like Perry Como and Engelbert Humperdinck and Andy Williams, all those guys you'd see on the late night TV shows.
Oh,
legend.
That's white pop music.
Sinatra, all that. But my dad was also into country music, so like the real stuff. Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, Merle Haggard, tons of Merle Haggard. So then my uncle, who was much younger than my dad, he was closer to my age than he was my dad's age, he turned me on to all the great Southern rock bands. Allman Brothers, Lynyrd Skynyrd, Marshall Tucker, the Atlanta rhythm section, Wet Willie, right there, essential. And then mid 70s, my friends at school, we were discovering Kiss, Bad Company, Boston, Rush. It was starting to happen, right? It was starting to happen. So that's the answer to the first part of your question. Oh, Bob Seger, tons of Bob Seger. But then I discovered Van Halen.
Ugh.
I saw Van Halen when I was 16 at the Birmingham Jefferson Civic Center. It was the Women and Children First Tour. I was on the third row. It changed my life. It changed my life. And that was a band that none of those previous people knew about. This wasn't their music.
Yeah, this was
my
new.
music.
Yes.
This was new. This was my music. And you can imagine the thrill for me that Brother King got to support Van Halen in 1995. And I got to sit at a table with Eddie and Alex Van Halen and tell them this story, look them in the eye and go, fellas, all of this is happening for me because of you. Billions of people love music. Hundreds of thousands of people start bands. The Van Halen component informed my whole my brain, my hands, my thinking, my passion, my ambition. Like, yes. And then, late 80s, Guns N' Roses' first record. Then the Black Crowes right down the road.
Oh, one of my favorite bands of all time.
Right down the highway, 2 hours away from Birmingham in Atlanta. I went, okay, if those guys can do it, I can do it. If they can do it, I can do it. I'm going to figure this out. And
those first 3 Black Crowes records are literally like the soundtrack to my college years. If they don't get inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I will freak out. Those records are, and again, they put the band back together, new album, big tour, yeah, couldn't love the Black Crowes more if I tried.
There's no Brother King without those first 2, because Southern Harmony, the musical companion, was
that album is perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect. That was the one. That was the one. That was the one that kind of was the big, gallon tank of nitrous into my musical head. No disrespect to some of those bands from the 80s. It just wasn't my thing. It wasn't for me. I had grown up on way too much Tom Petty and Thin Lizzy and Deep Purple. I just, I dated some girls that were into that, and I get all of that. But, Guns N' Roses was the real thing. The Black Crowes were the real thing. Yeah, they sounded like the Stones in the Faces. And yes, Chris moved around like Rod Stewart. And so what? The songs were killer. Songs were great. The band was great.
That's one of my Desert Island albums, Southern Harmony and the Musical Companion. I know every word to every song. It's perfect.
Well, for this era of Brother Kane, for us to get to play somewhere with the Crowes, if you ever see that on your day sheet or just on your news feed, we'll get a little misty-eyed together, because I would love for that to happen. That would be a good night out for that group of music fans. Anybody that digs the Black Crowes will dig Brother Kane. That's for sure.
You talk about Eddie Van Halen. I had been in the room with him before, early in my career, but I had never met him. And you know who introduced me to Eddie Van Halen? Brent Smith from Shinedown.
What?
Shinedown was opening for Van Halen. I flew out to see one of the shows, and Brent asked me because he took me backstage. Brent asked me, have you ever met Eddie? And I said no, and he grabbed me by the hand, and he walked me into Eddie Van Halen's dressing room, and it was him and Wolfgang, and Wolfgang was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
And he introduced me to Eddie Van Halen, and he was just sitting in the room by himself, just playing, smoking a cigarette, hanging out with his son, and I was just like, oh my God, that's Eddie Van Halen. It's the only time I ever met him, the only time I ever talked to him. I don't have a picture of it, which I wish I did, but I did for 90 seconds get to share the room and say hi to the GOAT, for lack
Harry,
of a
that
better
makes
word.
me so happy.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy for you. Not surprised that Brent would do that. Brent's a solid human. Yeah, Eddie was special, and everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. He was special, and I just wish he was still with us. I kind of kept in touch with him. I still keep in touch with Sam and with Michael, and it'd be amazing if Brother Kane would get even just a chance to do one show again with any of those guys in any facsimile. Whether if it happens, it happens. But don't ever worry about Damon Johnson, Carrie.
Oh,
I have lived the greatest life. If it ends tomorrow, I have lived the greatest life. I've lived the life of 10 men. Whenever someone kind of reads off my resume, I just start laughing. It's like, like if you just were sitting at a bar and some dude walked over and said, "Hey man, you look like a musician. Who have you played with?" And you go, Alice Cooper, Thin Lizzy.
I tell you were full of shit if I didn't know you.
I opened for Van Halen and Robert Plant and Lynyrd Skynyrd and Aerosmith, and now I'm the guitar player in Lynyrd Skynyrd. That guy would punch me in the face.
Yeah.
He'd go, "What kind of idiot do you think I am, man?"
As a songwriter, I ask every songwriter on the show this question, and it's a craft question. It's not like a favorite song question. It's a writing question.
Yeah.
Give me a song of any artist, any genre that you think is perfectly crafted and you covet it and wish you wrote it. From a structure, and tell me why that song is so brilliantly written.
I've been living in fear that someone would ask me that question.
Because it's easy to say, favorite album, favorite song, whatever. But as a songwriter, when you hear something and you're listening to it differently than I would, I'm listening to it as a fan. You're listening to it as someone that has the ability, that can do the craft. So you're going to hear it differently and recognize things for the brilliance that it is without maybe somebody just a music fan like me recognizing it.
All right. You've given me enough time to give you an answer. My first thought was, well, I've got to pick one of 15 Tom Petty songs, because Tom's songs are perfect. They're perfectly written. His records are perfectly made. But then something that you said made me rethink it. And it's an old song. It's a song that my dad used to play on the record player. And I couldn't appreciate it then the way I came to appreciate it when I started writing myself. And the song has sustained to this minute, whatever time it is, 1 p.m., February 18, 2026. That song is Wichita Lineman, that Glenn Campbell perfectly sang and performed, written by the icon that is Jimmy Webb. That melody, if Robert DeLeo from Stone Temple Pilots was on this with us, he'd be doing this. Go, yep, that's the one. I just remember being a little kid and hearing that song, and it would almost get me emotional because I could picture that lineman up on a pole working on the power lines, isolated in the middle of nowhere, Kansas or New Mexico, but that melody and that record was so perfect, wow, yeah, that Carol Kay, she played bass, doo 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 boom boom boom. It's like, yeah, I mean, look, my phone is loaded with songs, Carrie, that I listen to just for enjoyment. I got inspiration playlists. I got enjoyment playlists. I got sad playlists. I got
I was going to
chill
say,
playlists.
I have playlists for emotional state.
Yeah.
This is like my sad playlist. I have a playlist for rainy Sunday mornings only because they're the perfect songs you want to listen to on a rainy Sunday.
You're the real deal, Carrie. You're every bit the real deal, as much as I am. It's because we love this music. And, the fact that it's no surprise that you and I and Marty and Brent, Ricky Medlock, who I just had coffee with 3 hours ago.
I was just talking about him because it was his birthday.
Yeah, it was his birthday yesterday. We're all still gunning for it. It gives us life. It gives us purpose. I open my eyes every morning. I hit go on the coffee machine and I go turn on some music every day. I've done it every day since I was a child. I'm going to do it until my ashes are scattered over some body of water somewhere. I'm going to do it every day the rest of my life. And I know that you are too, my friend.
One of the coolest radio things we ever did at AAF, and we did it a few times, we used to do a contest for a holiday weekend, and you would win a party in your own backyard that was catered and food and all that stuff. But we would run this contest, and then we would supply the band. And it was winning a big band to come to your house and play in your backyard. And one of the coolest things WAF ever gave away was Lynyrd Skynyrd in a dude's backyard on the 4th of July weekend. Like, is there any prize cooler than that ever? And they showed up and they played in the dude's backyard for like 50 people.
Oh,
like,
girl, you're killing me right now.
That is cool as fuck.
You're killing me right now. That's unbelievable.
Those guys, if you ask them about it today, they'll tell you because they'll remember it. Because I doubt they've done it twice. It was a shit show. They had to get the state police to escort the tour bus into the neighborhood. We couldn't tell anybody who won until after because we didn't want them finding the guy's house. But Skynyrd showed up and played in these guys' backyard, and it was so badass.
What year was that, Carrie? Do you remember just approximate?
I mean, it was 2000, so it was like sometime in probably the mid 2000s, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I'm gonna absolutely hit Medlock up about that.
All right, I got one more question for you. I got to ask you, and I ask everybody. But the preface to the question is this. I call it the geezer question. I had Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath on the show. He tells me in the interview he has 13 cats and 5 dogs. When I ask him how the hell he keeps track of them all and how the hell he names them all, Geezer Butler tells me he names all his pets after gangster rappers and starts listing off every rapper known to man because these cats and dogs are all named. I didn't know Geezer knew this much about hip hop, but he does.
I'm dying right now.
And so everybody,
incredible.
I had no idea. I fell on the floor laughing. I was crying, laughing so hard. And now, because pet people are pet people, it doesn't matter if you're a rock star, you're Geezer Butler, whoever. So I ask every rock star that comes on the show what kind of pet they have and where they got the names, but I blame Geezer Butler. It's all his fault.
Well, wow. So at this current moment, we don't have any pets. We don't have any pets. I grew up with dogs. My dog, my whole youth was Snoopy. We had another dog named Winston that my mom named after Winston Churchill, which I thought was the coolest possible thing ever. She has nothing to do with being British or whatever. But when Linda and I got together, she had cats, and I loved her cat. She named her cat Q, which was short for quarter pounder, because she found him in a McDonald's parking lot as a kitten. Well, it turns out, Carrie, I'm allergic to cats. And neither one of us figured it out. It took the longest time for it to figure it out because he could go in and out of the house. But for some period of time, he was staying inside the house, and I'm like sneezing and coughing, and my eyes are watering. And I'm thinking,
you got hay fever.
Like hay fever and
pollen.
Running outside. And yeah. So, but the only thing I can compete with Geezer about, I do have 5 kids, Heather, Marshall, Sarah, Gabriel, Jolene. I have 2 grandkids, Marlo and Merritt, and I have names for all of my guitars.
All of them?
Gertrude, Goldie, Blackie, GR144, which is a Gary Rosington tribute. I have a guitar called Number One that I played in Boston, whatever that's the guitar I played at that beach party. I still have that guitar. And then I have this glorious green guitar that you don't have to spend much time looking for on YouTube or the internet. There's tons of photos of it. It has multiple names: the Hulk, the Green Manalishi, and Greenie, which is my tribute to Gary Moore, and Kirk Hammett owns the actual.
Rumor
Greenie.
has it he paid what, like $5 million for that thing or something?
He didn't pay that much for it. I don't know what he paid, but he got it at a killer deal, or he would have never bought it. But that Geezer Butler story is the greatest thing I've ever heard. But don't judge me. Don't judge me because I don't have pets, because I am a pet person.
You tour a lot though, so you're not the only rock star that's ever said, like, I wish I could have them, but I'm not home enough, and so I don't have them.
It makes it hard, girl.
Yeah.
It really does. For touring musicians and touring families, it's a challenge. But
you just reminded me, I always ask guitar players, and I forgot to ask you, who gave you your first guitar, and do you still have it?
yes. So my dad technically let me borrow his guitar. He wasn't a professional musician. My dad sold farm equipment, but he enjoyed music enough that he had a guitar that he knocked around on. So he had an acoustic, a Gibson acoustic, and he had a Gibson 330 electric. He bought both of those brand new, Carrie, in 1960. Like 4 years before I was born. So I grew up with those guitars. When I graduated high school, my dad gave me that electric guitar because I was already starting to play. I had bands, we'd won the talent show and that kind of stuff. And then that very next year, I saved my money from working at the grocery store, and I bought my first real Les Paul. That Les Paul is Gertrude, the first name I just said to you. I won the talent show senior in high school playing that guitar. We played Gimme 3 Steps, Carrie. We played Gimme 3 Steps by Lynyrd Skynyrd. I played that guitar. I have a photo. I have 2 photos framed hanging in my office. It's me playing that guitar in the talent show, next to a photo of me playing that guitar standing next to Ricky Medlock on stage in Skynyrd playing Call Me the Breeze and Gimme 3 Steps.
That's insane.
Who has my life? No one. No one.
That's amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
My 2 favorite bands before I discovered Van Halen was Lynyrd Skynyrd and Thin Lizzy, Carrie.
Those are good ones to pick.
My 2 favorite bands were Lynyrd Skynyrd and Thin Lizzy.
And look at what you did. Like, what?
Who has my life? No one.
Nobody.
No one. And like I said, I feel like here we are. This is my favorite year of my life. My kids are healthy. crushing it. My bandmates are all healthy, crushing it. Skynyrd carries on. Such a privilege for me to be a part of that. Brother Kane's about to drop my favorite record I've ever made. I've made a dozen records over the course of my career. This is no contest, my favorite. And the future is wide open. Into the great wide open, as Tom Petty saying.
Magnolia Medicine comes out in April. Brother Kane has released some tour dates, nothing in the Northeast yet, but hopefully more is coming. But you are going to be in the Northeast with Skynyrd, and you and I are having that beer.
Girl, I'm going to be furious at you if we don't.
Oh, it's happening.
I'm good. Like, let's just figure it out.
Yeah, I'm calling your people so you can get me on the list. And
listen to me. When you hit pause on this recording, I'm giving you my cell number. How about that? How about that? And trust me, my wife has made it clear I have to be very selective about any females that get my phone number.
Wait till she sees Mistress Carrie in your phone book. I'll give her my husband's number. They can talk.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
It was so
Carrie,
good to see you and catch up. I am so excited for you.
Carrie, thank you so much, my friend. I'm excited for you. I'm so happy for you. I'm proud of you following your dream and just continuing to crush it. And you're tenacious, you're passionate, and you're so good at what you do. This has been a thrill for me. Thank you for having me on. Thanks for talking about Damon Johnson in this moment and Brother Kane in this record. Thank you so much.
There he is, Damon Johnson from Brother Kane. The band's new album, Magnolia Medicine, comes out on April 28th. The band is also out on the road. You can get a complete list of tour dates on the band's official website, which you'll find linked in the show notes. Damon is also out on the road on the Double Trouble Double Vision tour with Lynyrd Skynyrd and Foreigner, with a stop at the Xfinity Center in Mansfield, Massachusetts on Saturday night, August 22nd. All of Damon's links and the Brother Kane links are in the show notes of this episode. You'll also find the link to this episode's corresponding playlist. I make a playlist for every full-length episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast that features all of my guest music and all of the artists and songs that we referenced in the interview. You'll also find all the Mistress Carrie links too. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to like, follow, comment, share, and subscribe to the Mistress Carrie podcast. New full-length episodes come out every Wednesday, plus every weekday you get the sit rep. The Situation Report gives you all of your rock news, music headlines, and entertainment updates. Plus, you never know when we're going to release a bonus episode. Join me live every Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern for my weekly streaming video show, Cocktails in the War Room, and you can always find me on the radio. Get the details on all of that and more at MistressCarrie.com. The Mistress Carrie Podcast, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network.